Hello everyone, myself Jaya Agarwal, Assistant Professor Political Science from SPCGC Ajmer. I welcome you all in this video. Today we are going to study about the points of conflict between the center and the states. When we study the relations between the center and the states in our discipline, so basically we study three types of relations: legislative, administrative, and financial relations between the center and the states, and conflicts regarding these relations. But today we are going to study about the points of conflict between both of these center and the states. We are studying basically the financial relations or conflicts regarding financial relations between both of these governments. So let's start. In practice, there are many points of conflict between the center and the states. In the first place, the center does not seem to have taken sufficient initiative to impose all the taxes under Article 269 whose proceeds would go to the states. Secondly, in the case of additional excise duties, the center seems to have placed its own interest first and did not bother much to enhance excise duties on those commodities whose proceeds would go to the states when excise on similar commodities were raised. Thirdly, there were instances, of course, not many, when the center attempted to reduce the divisible whole of the income tax rather indirectly. Finally, surcharges on income tax were levied for exclusive union purpose. Apart from these points of conflict, there were cases of overlapping powers. One such instance is the clash of income tax and the tax by states on professions and callings. Also, there is anomaly arising from various states' tax and the excise duties on some commodities. In brief, the weaknesses of Indian federalism have served as irritants, invariably causing tensions and often resulting in demand for a change in center-state financial relations. The irritants in the field of center-state financial relations are: first one is inadequate devolutions of taxes levied and collected by the central government, thereby reducing the finances available for state activities within their sphere of responsibility. Second, dependence of the states on the central government for planned grants, loans, and other ad hoc grants, and their general inadequacy from the point of view of the states' developmental responsibilities. Third, dependence of the states on the union government for their share of the enormous financial resources. These include not only the resources of the nationalized banking sector but also other financial institutions. They also include foreign aid, bilateral as well as international, and the somewhat uh, massive resources uh, from deficit financing support by the Reserve Bank. Next one is compulsory submission of state 5-year plans, including the items within the sphere of their own responsibility, to the planning commission created by the central government, and interference and control by the latter over the plans of individual states. Although the situation at present is that there is the planning commission has been changed and Niti Aayog has been established. So this point can be correlated with the Niti Aayog as of now we can correlate it with that. States next one is states dependence in vital matters affecting state developmental needs because of the unilateral control exercised by the central government on industrial, commercial, and monetary policy, including industrial location, nuclear and thermal energy, and licensing of industrial and export units, import and export restrictions, incentives affecting economic activity carried on within the states and linked with their overall economic development and credit limits and interest rates fixed by the Reserve Bank in consultation with or under the guidance of the Central Finance Ministry. So far as these irritants are concerned, the first to deal with the financial inadequacy on the part of the states and a state of dependence on the central government that results in both frustration and a sense of fiscal irresponsibility on the part of the state governments. The third relates to the heavy concentration of power in the hands of the central government over other financial resources of the country as a whole. So far as the states are concerned, such a situation gives a feeling of dependence and lack of autonomy in their regional development for which they are accountable to their electorates. Among the five listed irritants, the fourth is of crucial significance as it leads to central guidance, interference, and control over the economic and social development, even in the sphere constitutionally allotted to the state. As planning embraces practically most of the whole range of activities affecting the interests of the people of the states, and since plan outlay forms a major share of their budgetary expenditures. This not only aggravates the feeling of states' dependence but also causes irritation in not having their own way in plan priorities, programs, and outlays. At the same time, it also creates any elements of responsibility among the states in their developmental functioning and induces a tendency to treat the central plan framework as the scapegoat for the deficiencies and failures of their own developmental programs in not satisfying the needs of their people. However, the fifth irritant does not have the same measure of legitimacy as the first four. It is due that industrial, commercial, and monetary policies are constitutionally in the domain of the central government, and in all fairness, one should not think of giving autonomy in these matters to the states. However, what irritates the states in this matter is not their lack of control on these subjects, but the failure of the central government to discuss with them in the formulation and implementation of policies in those spheres which play a vital role in the developmental functioning of the states and the basic welfare interests of their people. There is no denying the fact that this particular irritant could have been minimized if the central government had given the states some advisory, if not participatory, role before industrial, commercial, and monetary policies were finalized and had taken into consideration their repercussions in the discharge by the states of their own developmental responsibilities. So that's all for today from my side. Thank you very much.